I have a problem and I have a solution to my problem because my problem is shared by so many people. I think it's worth trying to express it. I'm going to try using the word algorithm to help me express the solution to my problem. Algorithms are generally confined to the field of mathematics, not art. But in my concept of stream, science, technology, reading and writing, engineering, the arts, and math, it is useful to think deeply about what algorithm means. Although it's a mathematical concept and led to algebra, and the name of it is even given to the inventor of algorithm, Muhammad Al-Khawarizm. I think by drawing on the world of entertainment, I can open people's eyes as to how algorithms are also useful in art and, in my field, the teaching in the arts. My suggestion is that the algorithm is not part of the mathematical world only, it is also part of the art world, specifically the world of art and technology. Dr. Smith said art and technology were joined at birth, and I take this to mean that they existed at some point at the same time and the same place as one another. Art as the craft of painting, and the technology of making a handprint. The definition of an algorithm is often given as a way to solve a problem through a series of given steps. I watched a movie the other night called The Teacher's Lounge, and a short scene, only seconds long, was burned into my mind. And I thought I would capture that scene to help solve my problem, which is to make a point among members in my community, the arts in Seattle, to explain what I mean and what Dr. Smith means about art and technology being joined at birth, and more importantly, why that's a significant principle today, February 21st, 2025. So here is the scene taken from the movie The Teacher's Lounge.
Hier, schau mal. Den wollte ich dir noch geben. Weißt du, was das ist? Das ist ein Zauberwürfel. Hat aber nichts mit Magie zu tun, sondern Mathematik. Es gibt Algorithmen, mit denen man den Würfel in 0, nichts lösen kann. Weißt du, was das ist, ein Algorithmus? Es ist eine eindeutige Handlungsabfolge, um für ein Problem eine Lösung zu finden. Schau. Willst du mal probieren?
presuming it's against the law to show recordings from movies, I recorded this with my smartphone, pointing it at my computer screen, and I went back and aligned the soundtrack with the video all by hand. In fact, technically, one cannot record with a screen recorder. My point of doing this was to show a teacher with a student explaining what algorithm means. If I could wind the clock back to 1966 when I began teaching printmaking at the university level, I would have explained that print is the ancestor of all STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because print in the shape of a handprint on the wall of a Paleolithic era room, a cave, showed how explication and replication existed side by side. To put it another way, explication was the painting on the wall of, for example, an aurochs, ancestor to the cow. The painting is in one of the caves in Europe. The photograph of the painting was the result of thousands of years of evolving replication, that is, the repeating of an image. The handprint could be repeated again and again by inking or blowing ink to make a print on the wall. The hand was like a printing plate, and it was the solution to the problem that without replication, the painting could not exist. Photography was the way those paintings found in caves were shown to the world. I like to put it this way: the aurochs was freed from the prison of the cave in the darkness. The photograph combines light, optics, chemistry to produce a replicated image. Without it, the painting could never have been repeated, and all the tangential inventions that rely on repetition, replication, could not have existed without the principle, although not necessarily made with the intent of inventing photography thousands of years later, but simply to say, I was here, and maybe it was at the same time the painting was being made. Maybe they even shared the paint, one for the painting with skill and craft, which is very difficult to achieve, with the simplicity of smearing one's hand or blowing a mist of pigment over the hand to leave a stencil image. That was simple. That was an algorithm. It was a series of steps: ink the hand, apply the ink. That was an algorithm. It was a series of steps to solve the problem of the imprisonment of art locked away in a cave. My intent today is to continue releasing images in the form of art and performances from the confines of the brick and mortar theater or the dungeons underneath art museums or in the private homes of individuals, royalty, and religious leaders. Kids need to know that print is the ancestor of all technologies. Therefore, I have taken printmaking out of the context of art, that which I was hired to teach in 1966. My intent is to recontextualize print and put it in the context of STEAM, science, technology, reading and writing, engineering, the arts, and math. And I do this for children because children are going to give print a fresh look with the use of new print technologies such as 3D printing, and by putting it in the context not of the art gallery, not as a showpiece of one's cleverness, but in the context of sharing with kids at a distance. My model with which I have demonstrated this idea, I call Print Pals. In the late part of the last decade, I formed a friendship with a pal in Switzerland named Ek Lori. And this week, February 2025, we achieved the next level of his sending me the STL file to print his printing press. Earlier, he had sent me laser cut parts for another press he calls the Rembrandt press. This is an achievement for me personally, but I'm not satisfied to leave it in my studio alone. I'm not going to leave it as part of our museum, so-called, but get the word out to members of my community, that is, mature artists in the Seattle area who share the memories of the 70s and 80s at the University of Washington, where I proved the relationship between print and newer technologies such as electronics in the form of video and digital technology such as computer graphics. I was never going to separate print from technology, but to blend ways that artists at this last stage of their training and education, that is, master's degrees in fine arts, to prepare them for the next generation, the years 1980 to the year 2000. Unfortunately, I was cut off too soon at the university, and my idea was never allowed to see the light of day. Like the paintings in Paleolithic era caves, you might say my idea was imprisoned. But now, thanks to my skills I maintained over the last 4 decades, I'm able to put it in this form. And I'm grateful to the filmmakers who, from time to time, have pointed out what is an algorithm and why is it my solution.